Hey Flosstube, it's Zoe from Stitching on the Side. Today I have a Flosstube Extra for you, in which I'm going to try and do a color skin tone conversion for this pattern, which is Nora Corbett's Taurus. My first Nora Corbett or a fancy lady of any kind. Super excited about it. I'm excited to get it started, but I do want to see if I can figure out how to change this lady's skin tone from being quite so pink and pale to being a little bit more tan and olive, closer to my own skin tone. So that's what I work on today. I think it's going to be a lot harder than I initially thought it was going to be, but we'll see where we get. So to start out, these threads right here are threads that are called for in the pattern for the skin. So there's a bunch of different threads and blends in the skin of this pattern. So I cut a little swatch of my fabric, which is a 32 count platinum Lugana. And I did a little face color swatch to kind of wrap my brain around how the different colors are used as called for in this piece in the skin tones. So it's a weird little face swatch, but it really helped me kind of understand what's going on with the colors in the face. And the lips and the cheeks and all that kind of stuff. And it helped me really see that, yes, in fact, as stitched, as called for, the skin tone in this is much lighter and much pinker than I would prefer for it to be. So I'm gonna go ahead, I pulled, I'm gonna set these to the side. I'm not gonna use those. I went through my DMC stash using my swatch, my color card, this guy that I have. I looked online for a bunch of different skin tone conversions to use those kind of as idea generators, went through here and pulled what I had from stash in terms of threads that I thought might help me kind of approximate other skin tones and replace like the lips and stuff like that. So I've got this as a starting point for that, not lose my needle. And then put that in my back in my fabric for the moment while I'm getting set up here. I grabbed my scissors, and then I went ahead and placed an order on 123 Stitch because I was sick for a few days and I didn't feel like going out to the store nearby that has a pretty comprehensive set of DMC. So I just ordered from 123 Stitch some additional colors that I didn't have on hand that I thought might help me with this skin tone conversion process. So this is what I got. You can see it's really hard to tell from like the swatches, even using that color card, which ones are going to be, how they're going to look in real life. I'm also curious about using some blends in some different ways, stuff like that. So this is what I'm starting with for my skin tone conversion. Stuff from stash, the stuff I ordered, and my swatch. I think the first thing I'm going to do is look at the base skin tone. So you can see probably in here, hopefully if I can get it to focus right, that there is sort of like a base skin tone, and then there are different things used for the lips, the cheeks, and for some different, I would guess I would call it like layers of shading, different darknesses of shading. So I think maybe if I find that a pretty good base skin tone to start, that'll be a good starting point. So the first thing I'm going to do is try some swatches of some different potential base skin tones. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to put on some background noise for you while I'm doing that and speed it up a little bit, and then we'll come back and talk more once that is complete. All right, so I've done my initial set of swatches for base skin tones, and here is what I've got up here at the top. The far left one is the original base skin tone, which is DMC 948. I do have one darker potential base skin tone that I didn't use, which is 3862, and I decided not to include that because I do need to leave some room in my skin tone ranges for shading, and this is darker than of a base than I'm looking for this project, but I wanted to mention it because it's a really lovely color that could be a really nice skin tone, depending on what you're looking for. So the ones that I did some single color swatches, and I also did some, what do you call it? Blends, some blend swatches. So just like looking at this against my hand here, it's kind of interesting. So like I said, I started with 948, which was the called for. Then I did 945. Then I did a blend of 945 and 437. The next one is 437 by itself, which to me is a little bit more yellow undertone than I'm looking for. I do like a lot of the blends, which is interesting. The next one I tried was 3864, which runs, again, much cooler. And then I did a blend of 3864 and 437. So that is these two together. Maybe it'll be easier if I point with my scissors. So I did this one blended with that one to get this, which I really like. That might be my base. This is 3863, and this is 3863 blended with 436. So those are my base skin tone trials, you can see. And this is a really interesting, I'm really glad I did this so far, because this is super interesting to me to see this kind of progression and comparison of skin tones. So again, looking at my own skin tone, I'm trying to decide, I guess, between the 945 plus 437 blend, or potentially this 3864 plus 437 blend. I think I'm going to go with this 3864 plus 437 blend for my base skin tone. So I'm making some notes on this sticky note as I go. So I think this is going to be the winner for my base skin tone. So I think what I'm going to do next is swatch out a little bit of that in down here so that I can make a little bit more of the comparisons between skin tones. And then I'll start thinking next about shading. So let me grab those two colors. So it was 437. Got so many little bits and pieces here. I was trying to keep them organized, but you know how that goes. 437, and then I said 3864. Which is this guy. So these two together, I'm thinking will be my base skin tone. Let me make a little bit more of a swatch down here that I can use as I look at shading, and then we'll be back to talk about what we find out. All right, so I've got a little bit more of a swatch of that base skin tone color. I am really liking how it is turning out. Again, this is 3864 plus 437 as a blend, one strand of each. So that I am pleased with. So next I need a slightly darker shade that is the closest kind of, let's see. Yeah, so it goes, I'm trying to think about what the shading patterns are here. So in the original pattern, there's like this darker, and then there's a blend between those two. So that creates two variations. So I guess I need to figure out a slightly darker here, which is going to give it a little bit of shadow. And then a blend in between. So I wonder if I could use this one, or I wonder if this one would be better. I feel like this one, which was 3863 plus 436, but then that's another blend. So then I have to think about what the next darker is. So there should be a total of 3 layers. So there's the base layer and then I need 3 additional layers of shading. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I think I'm going to do 3863, and then I'm going to try that darkest one that I showed you. So let me try that shading. I'm going to do a little bit over here and a little bit down here, and then we'll compare. So let's try that and see what happens. I think I am happy with my face, like skin tones, and how the shading is happening. It's super tricky because like you want the shading and the gradient of colors to be really subtle, and that makes it really hard to tell if you've got enough contrast while keeping it a nice subtle gradation. So I didn't set up this swatch the same way as this one, but I kind of mimicked some pieces. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, I think. I think this is gonna work for me. So the progression that I ended up using, so I'm using these 4 flosses right here for the skin tone. So these are sort of the base skin tone colors, which I really am liking these. So you can see it's a color set in DMC colors. So 3864, 3863, and 3862. These are a little cool. So I warmed them up by blending them with 436 and 437. I guess it would go this way, 437 and 436. You might have seen in the fast forward part, I thought about for a minute using 3828 instead of, I think, 436. It ended up looking a little bit more yellow undertone than I was looking for. So I ended up just sticking with 437 and 436. So I've got 4 tones going on here in this blend area. So the base tone is the one we talked about before from up here, which was 3864 plus 437. So these two together is my base tone. And then one darker is, it's like down here. I think it's these 3, which is what I'm saying about how hard it is to get it to blend subtly and also be visible. Let me see if I can get it to where it'll focus decently. Okay, so I think it's these 3 stitches right here are the next darkest, and that one I did 3864 plus 436. So I used the same base thread color and the one darker of the like warm tone. And then the next darkest focus is these 2 stitches right here. So this is the base, this is the base, and then these 2 stitches right here, and then also these 2 diagonal right here. Those are 3863 and 436. So one darker of the sort of base tone and the darker of the 2 warm tones. And then the darkest tone is this diagonal down here. And that's like the ultimate shaded, I guess, area of the skin tone. Sorry, my kids are being super loud today. So sorry if you hear the multitudes of background noises, breaking up ice in the freezer, playing the guitar. They're noisy. The last one I used was just straight 3862, and that's this darkest shaded area right here. So I'm happy with that. So now I need to figure out the cheeks. So this area right here, is it like a cheek tone? So I don't know if you can really see it well, because again, it's really subtle, but there's these 2 stitches are a light pink that is different from the base. And then this is a slightly darker pink that is also different from the base. So I need 2 shades. If I'm following the exact same like number of threads and colors, I need 2 shades for the cheeks. And then I need 3 shades for the mouth. And I don't think, let me check. Of the ones that I'm showing you right here, there's no overlap. There's a couple other stitches where there is overlap, but for these ones, there's not. So I'm thinking that I want to be a little less pink, and like I want a warm cheek, but yeah. So it's gonna have to blend better with these more olive tones. And then same thing for the lips. This is like a cool pink, and I want it to be warmer and maybe more, slightly more natural tones. So let me start with the cheeks. So let's see, I can put my skin tone threads aside, although maybe I'll use some of it to blend. Maybe that's a way to go about getting that lighter tone. So maybe I want to keep my 3864 out. So I've got, so these are the original pinks, and then there were also some lighter, I think maybe like this one, some lighter pinks that I was using in the original called for colors. I pulled these ones, I think might be good. I think I pulled these potentially as lip colors. Let me get myself reorganized here. I'm not using those. I don't think I'm going to use any of these because they're too cool. So put those to the side. These are my skin tones that I don't need right now, but I'm going to keep those for, I'm going to maybe put them over with my other threads for this project. So I've got these, and then I've got these to play with from my 1, 2, 3 stitch order. This I can tell right away I think is going to be too yellow, so I'm going to put that to the side. These are nice though. Okay, so thinking about blush. I feel like this could be a really good blush tone. And then I also, this is brighter, more dramatic. So I guess that's the question, is how dramatic do I want to go? Like these are a good contrast. So I could go with these two. So let's try that. and see how that looks. So this is 3771 and 402. So I'm going to try those and see how they look and report back. We'll look back in just a minute. All right, I think I got my cheeks. So I changed it from what I told you. I did use 3771 as the inner cheek color, so the lighter of the two cheek colors. So again, in my original swatch, it's these like cooler pink tones. So this is the lighter, this diagonal, and then this diagonal is the darker. So on mine, they're vertical, but this is the 3771. It's a little hard to get to focus. And then the outer two right here, I ended up using 3064 for that. So I like that. I like how those are warm and pinky, but not too, I don't know, too bright, I guess. Oh, my notes are getting super messy. 3064, but I gotta write it down, otherwise I'm gonna immediately forget. All right, so that's good. So the last piece is the lips. So that is a 3-color situation. 3 shades of pink. And when I was thinking about this before, my thought was that I could use 356 as the darkest color. I was thinking about 3778 as a mid-tone, but those are really close. There might not be enough contrast there. And then I need a lighter tone, so I was thinking 754. Thinking. That's interesting. That's an interesting little combo. I want to go warmer in the lips. Looking back at those to think, no, that's too warm, I think. Discard. 3778. Is there enough contrast? I'm trying to think. This I think is too cool. So put that away. So, I think I'm gonna try those 3. Okay, so those are my cheek colors. This is my base skin color. I think I'm gonna try these 3 for the lips. All right, so let's try that, see how that looks, and we'll be back in a moment. All right, so that last stitch is super messy, but I'm not gonna fix it. The whole thing is kind of messy. If you've been looking at the back as I've been stitching, it's like horrendous. It's like fringe because I haven't been tying anything in really, or loop starting or doing anything to secure the ends, because just a swatch, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so for the lips, I did use those 3 colors. I used 3, focus, 356 for the darkest tone. I used 407 for the bottom lip mid-tone, and then I used 754 for the lightest tone on the sides. My only like tiny little bit of uncertainty is whether the side color is too light. Let me throw a bit of 3778 on here and compare. Okay, all right, decision made. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna do 356 as the darker lip color. I'm gonna do 3778, which is this guy. So 356 is the darkest, 3778 as the mid-tone. That's on the side over here. And it doesn't have a ton of contrast with 356, but I think it's enough. And then I'm gonna use, I'm not gonna use 754, that's too light, but I'm gonna use 407 as the lightest lip tone. So I think that's gonna be a really good combo. All right, so I think I am done with my color conversion. You can see my crazy looking color swatches here. I will type up my final color choices in the description for you in case you are interested in seeing them. Again, up top here are my original skin tone, base skin tone trials, and it seems like my final choices of colors are these ones. So, okay, look at all these extra threads. This feels very wasteful in terms of like little bits of threads I'm throwing away, but it's DMC. Where I am, DMC is cheap. It's okay. So these are my final colors. And if we go back, I don't have all the original ones like right in front of my face, but it was like something along the lines of this. So very, very light and much more cool toned compared to this set, which is warmer and darker and a little bit more like olive that was warm toned. So I'm super happy with how this came out. Definitely was a process. Definitely was harder than I expected because of all the shading and blending and everything needed, but I think it's going to turn out awesome. So I think once I get these threads kind of all pulled, the blends pulled, and on my color card for this project, then I should be ready to get started on Taurus, which is going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. So here are, in case you are curious, the other threads for this project. Ooh, they're kind of all different lengths and stuff. Let me move this out of the way. And here's my selection that I just made. Move those out of the way. And here are the other colors in this project. So yeah, I think that'll be super interesting to see how this all plays out in the final project. And I look forward to working on it and showing you. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye.